Kano had been watching Syndicate's members hand off the Tache case for an hour and a half. He still had no idea where this relay might be headed. The man he was tailing now was about 10 meters away, close enough that Kano could close the distance and apprehend him at a moment's notice. But his orders remained the same: follow and observe. He watched the case was handed off once more. By now the shock of seeing it pass to yet another accomplice had worn off. It's already been 90 minutes, huh? Noticed Sayama at some point he'd crept up on Kano from behind. They don't seem like they're trying to get away at all, Kano said. They're just walking. What could they be up to? Sasayama shrugged. Yeah, it's weird. Kano recalled dictum number 89. Dictum number 89. The more irrelevant something seems, the more relevant it's bound to be. If Tateno's wisdom held true, the Syndicate must have some reason for what it was doing. Were they just trying to throw the investigators off their scent? No, that couldn't be it. They were wandering in circles, staying right in the same area. They were just running up the clock. That's exactly what they were after, buying time. Kano felt a sudden conviction that he was on the right track. They needed more time to make sure they got their hands on the ransom payment. Wait, hold on. Could it be that? The real case had already been switched out. The ransom money wasn't even in the case anymore. They sound like the same answer. Could it be that the real case had already been switched out and made a certain amount of sense? Handing the case off to one accomplice after another, they were relating detectives to pay more attention to the individuals than the case itself. It could enable them to swap the case while all the focus was elsewhere. Kano shared their hunch with Sasayama. I see. I mean, it's a possibility. Yeah, we might be following the wrong case. There was a palpable tension in the air now. Kano, Sam said, you gotta report it into Kuze. On it. Kano's hand flashed to his wireless. Kuze was dismissive. No, that's the case, I assure you. No offense, sir, but how can you be sure? Kuze sighed. Because that's my job. There's not an ID tag in that case that allows us to keep tabs on it. There's no way these crooks could have whipped up a duplicate. ID tag? What ID tag? Wait, no, that's right. Kano had forgotten all about that detail in the wake of his all-nighter. Alright. What you alright mean? Clearly you weren't hired for your brains. Focus on what you're good at. Kuze ended the call. Still, Kano couldn't shake the conviction that something was off. The man with the Itachi case made his way back to Shibuya Station. The heck? Sasayama grumbled. He's right back where we started. Kano felt this frustration growing. To honest, he looked like the Syndicate was just randomly liking the case around town. Near Shibuya Station, the girl approached the suspect. She was Japanese, entirely unlike any of their criminal accomplices. She spoke to the man while showing him something on a notepad. He glanced at the pad but did not slow down. Within moments, he had left her behind. It looked like she just passed him a message. Well, that's sure fishy, Sasayama muttered. What, the girl? Asked Kano. Yeah. Want to go hit her up? Sasayama could only mean one thing, questioning her. Let's go see what she knows. She can't be involved with this, can she? I feel like she's not, but might as well. Yeah, let's go see what she knows. Sasayama and Kano hurried over to the girl. Excuse me, miss. We'd like to ask you a few... Are you happy with your life? The young woman shouted. She thrust her notepad in Kano's face. Tell me this. Are you happy with your life right now? Huh? Looking at the notepad, Kano saw the same question written there in big, bold letters. The girl's eyes widened in surprise as she hadn't expected the two men to actually stop and listen. Right now, sir, she continued more quietly. Are you happy, if so, about your life? Are you happy with it? Are you the reporter? The more she spoke, the more flustered she asked. She's the reporter. She's definitely the reporter. The more flustered she became since Yama stepped in. Hey, I need to know, did you speak with that Western fellow just now? Huh? No, that isn't what I'm asking. Sir, are you happy with your life right now? Are you happy with your life right now? Kano got a sinking feeling in his stomach. This kid was looking for religious converts or something. You did speak with him, didn't you? Sasayama snapped. What did you tell him? The girl's rambling abruptly ceased. Her already ready face went even redder and tears welled up in her eyes. Poor kid, Kano thought. She's just out here trying to get people to listen to her survey questions. There's no way she's part of this kidnapping plot. Look, Missy said, for the time being, it would be a good idea for you to leave the area. Afraid I'm not at liberty to explain. The girl's only response was to start sobbing outright. I can't. I can't do this anymore. I want to go home. Kano and Sasayama exchange awkward glances. I want to go home. I want to go home. Passerby began shooting curious looks at the trio. Kano, you get back to work, Sasayama said. We'll escort the girl to the train station. He didn't quite manage to stifle the embarrassment in his voice. Right, Kano said. He hurried away, his eyes already searching for the suspect they had been tailing. It didn't take long to find him. The man's black garb made him stand out in the crowd at the intersection. It occurred to Kano that all the criminals who landed the Hitachi case had been wearing the same black clothing. That fact made the whole situation even weirder. Could they really be ignorant that they were being followed while they were all wearing the same eye-catching outfit? It was more like they were going out of their way to make sure the investigators spotted them. Still didn't provide any clues as to what they were after, though. The longer Kano kept tailing these guys, the less it all made sense. Was it really such a good idea to keep this up? Someone's life was in danger, and they were just letting the kidnappers carry out their plan, whatever it was. The very first page of the Dick diary spelled things loud and clear on that front. Oh my god, the first one? Dicta number 1, never lose sight of what you're supposed to protect. Ever. Right now, the single most important thing was ensuring the hostage's safety. This was a situation where Tenno would have stuck to his guns for sure. Kano thought back to that day 3 years ago. Burglar had shut himself inside a financial office and doused the place with gasoline. Kano had just been put on police box duty and was ordered to the scene because his box was just down the street from the standoff. Nobody is assigned to a detective post right after graduating from the police academy. Detective positions can be quite hard to come by. Candidates are selected for detective training only after accumulating enough experience working at the local police box, a very small type of neighborhood station manned by only a handful of officers. Several officers had surrounded the building, keeping close tabs on the situation. The suspect was shouting nonsense during the entrance on the first floor. Things were getting heated. A crowd of alarmed onlookers had started to form as well. Step aside, a voice said suddenly from amidst the throng. A middle-aged man in a rumpled business suit had approached Kano as he hovered nervously at the edge of the scene. Sorry, sir, Kano said. You have to stay back for your own safety. Then to usher the man back into the crowd. A no-nonsense look crossed the newcomer's face. He spoke in a low voice. Detective Tano from the Shibuya precinct. What's the situation? Oh, sir, I'm so sorry. Yes, of course. Kano stammered, then quickly explained. He hasn't taken anyone hostage, but there are still people on the upper floors of the building. Giving only a slight nod, Tano marched straight up to the building. The plastic container of gasoline the suspect had used was on the ground out front. Tano picked it up and dumped the remaining contents out over his head. Kano was at a loss for words. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. He covered himself in gasoline too, Tano called off on the entryway. Tension in the air ratcheted itself in several notches. Hey, what the hell do you think you're doing? Kano heard the burglar shouting from inside. If you're gonna do it, Tano called out. We can die together. And he walked out into the building. All Kano could do was watch things unfold through the plate glass window. Tano was talking to the burglar, but Kano couldn't make out the words. The crook was clutching a lighter, his hand trembling. His expression was like that of a frightened child. Tano slowly approached him and took firm hold of his shaking hand. The onlookers erupted into cheers and applause. The Tano handed the now docile suspect over to detectives and warily sat down against the planter out front. It was like something ripped straight out of a police drama. That was amazing, Kano breathed. You have to deal with guys like that as quickly as you can. You let a situation like this get even a little out of hand and you never know how things might go south on you. Tano spoke quietly, almost as if he were talking to himself. As the police evacuated the rest of the building, Kano noticed that there were children and elderly people among them. If the perp had managed to set the fire, there was no way they could have escaped in time. But I mean, what if he'd actually set the place on fire? If someone's willing to risk their life, you're not going to convince them of anything unless you do the same. Kano still remembered that awe he'd felt at the Tano's matter-of-fact tone. Kano hadn't become a police officer out of any real sense of duty. He just thought it would make Rumi happy if he became a detective like her father. Besides, civil servants tended to stay afloat in times of recession, and his time playing rugby meant he was in good physical shape for the job. He never really thought too much about protecting the citizen's tree or keeping the peace, but now here he was in the presence of a detective who literally risked his life in the line of duty without a second thought. The police officer never loses sight of what he's supposed to protect. Ever. Getting back to his suite, Tenno tugged off his gasoline-drenched coat and walked away. Kano wrote the words in a notebook he just purchased. Thus, the Dick Diary was born. Thinking back to the way Tenno had put his life on the line to rescue a bunch of strangers made Kano feel all the more raw about just telling these syndicate members. Letting the crooks just wander around wasn't going to bring Maria Osawa to safety. Of that, Kano was now certain. Never lose sight of what you're supposed to protect. Ever. He uttered the fundamental dictum out loud. Well, you've lost sight of it completely, a voice said out of nowhere. What? Kano spun around. It was Shizuya. Rumi was with them. Sir, Kano stuttered, weren't you supposed to be waiting at the cafe for? There was some lowlife there, so we left. Rumi's dad looked plenty mean under ordinary circumstances. Right now, he looked like a man possessed. Oh, I beg your pardon? I'm still on duty at the moment. I'm going back home, Shizuya huffed. You're not marrying my daughter. He turned to walk away. No, please, just wait. Done waiting, and I'm going home. Please don't do this. Just hear me out. I've heard all I need to hear from you. Rumi, we're leaving. Dad, please. Goodbye. Seizing his daughter by the hand, Shizuya stormed off without another word, dragging her behind. Shinya, she called out over her shoulder. Rumi! She was gone. Rumi was gone. Kano desperately wanted to go after her, but he hesitated in an agony of indecision. Can't turn my back on my responsibilities. I'm a detective. My work has to be my first priority. Going after Rumi isn't what a good detective would do. Oh, Detective Tenno. What should I do? Tenno. Bad end? Still, the victim echoed in his mind. Never lose sight of what you're supposed to protect. Ever. Never lose sight of what you're supposed to protect. Never lose sight of what you're supposed to protect. 6 months later, what the hell? Six months later. Kano made his way through a small corner of a vast field in the Nagano countryside. Slowly and leisurely he tilled the soil. He surprised himself with his own newfound enthusiasm for organic farming, learning more from Shizuya day after day. His father-in-law taught him the ways of farming from the ground up, and while things had been rocky between them at first, the friendship was now growing strong. Pausing to wipe his brow, he smiled at the creation around him. He looked forward to tending the crops he'd sown until harvest came around. If he stayed on as a detective, he might well never have known the joy he now found in his work. And this wasn't the only seed Kano had planted. By the time harvest season came around, the new life growing within his dear Rumi's belly would be the ready to celebrate it with them. I mean, this doesn't seem like a bad end. It's not really much of a bad end. We got married. What the fuck? How's that a bad end? Kano went after Rumi and Shizuya, proving his devotion and earning her hand in marriage. Now he's a farmer in Nagano, and crime in Tokyo is someone else's problem. But hang on a sec. Why weren't Rumi and Shizuya waiting at the cafe like they were supposed to be? Well, there's no way for Kano to know about how one man's bit of curiosity at the cafe led to this strange twist of fate. One man's bit of curiosity. The reporter, maybe? I mean, again, it doesn't seem like much of a bad end, does it? I mean, it's bad for, like, Maria and some others, but besides that, it doesn't seem bad.